Okay, guys, I wanted to go over these three examples because this involves the ambiguous case. And this is where I think we get the biggest confusion is when we're trying to figure out if there's one triangle, two triangles, or no triangles. Your no triangle, one triangle, or two triangles occurs or could occur when you're given two sides and one angle. Okay, so I think the best thing to do is look at the information you're given. I'm given here an angle and its corresponding side, and then an additional side. So I'm given two sides and one angle. So I'm going to go ahead and assume, all right, we're going to assume that there's two triangles. This is the best way to do this. Assume that there's two triangles from the beginning. If there are two triangles, the angle that's given, so they gave me angle A of 144 degrees, that will occur in both triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and write down, okay, there's 144 degrees in triangle 1 and then in triangle 2. So now let's find angle B. The reason I'm finding B is because they gave me side B. So I'm just going to set up my proportions, say sine of 144 over 17 equals the sine of B. Again, we don't know what B is. We're figuring out over 3. We're using our law of sines. So to solve, we cross multiply 17 times the sine of B equals 3 times the sine of 144. I would divide both sides by 17. And I get that the sine of B is, so I got 0.1037. Obviously that's not the angle measure, that's just the sine of that angle. So in my calculator I'm going to hit second sine, I get that -1, and then I have 0.1037. So when I hit that in my calculator, I get that the measure of angle B is, we'll say 5.95 degrees. Okay, so angle B is 5.95 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and see what angle C would be in this first triangle. And I would add up 144 and 5.95. And I get 149.95. Subtract that from 180. So I would get that angle C is about 30.05 degrees. Okay, that makes enough sense. Now, to find out if there was a second triangle, what you do is you find the supplement of this second angle that you found. Supplement means equals 180. So I'm going to say 180 minus 5.95, and I get that angle B, if there was a second triangle, would be 174.05 degrees. Now, guys, does that make sense? No. Because there are 180 degrees in a triangle. So if I add up 144 and 174, I get something like 314, 315 degrees. That means a second triangle does not exist. So you can just cross that out, and now you can say, okay, now I'm going to solve for sides. Well, I have A, I have B, so I have to solve for side C. And I would just use my law of sines. So sine of 144 over 17 equals, I know that angle C is 30.05, so sine of 30.05 over C. Cross multiply, so 17 times the sine of 30.05 equals C times the sine of 144. Divide both sides by the sine of 144. And side C is about 14.48 centimeters, units, whatever we're talking about. So 14.48. So always assume, when you're given two sides and one angle, always assume that there's a second triangle. Write down whatever angle is given, assume that it's in both, find that second angle, and then find the supplement to that. If it is if the two measures are less than 180, then you're good to go. There's two triangles. If they're not, then you know there's not. So again, let's look at the second example here. I'm given two sides and an angle. If you guys notice, I was given this proportion, this angle, and this side. So I'm going to go ahead and assume, okay, there's two triangles here. I'm going to say triangle 1 and triangle 2. In triangle 1 and triangle 2, they gave me a measure of an angle. I'm going to assume that it's in both, so 47 degrees. Angle A, 47 degrees. Now, they gave me side C, so that means I'm finding angle C. So angle C here, C would it be over here. So I'm going to set up my proportion of the sine of 47 over 33 equals the sine of c over 34. So we're going to cross multiply. 33 times the sine of c equals 34 times the sine of 47. Divide both sides by 33. And I get that the sine of c is 0.7535. Again, guys, we know that that's not the angle measure, that's the sine of the angle. So in my calculator, I hit the second button in sine, and I put in 0.7535. And I get that the measure of angle C is 48.89 degrees. So I'm going to come over here and say that in this first triangle, it's 48.8, whoops, that's an 8, 9 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and solve the rest of this triangle. And I'm going to say, well, if I found A and C, here's B. The way that I would do that is I would add 47 plus 48.89. That equals 95.89, and subtract from 180. And I get that in this triangle, angle B would be 84.11 degrees. Now, if a second triangle existed, again, I told you guys, you have to find the supplement to the second angle. So if I say 180 minus 48.89, I get 131.11. So 131.11 degrees. All right, so if I add 131.11 and 47, what do I get? I get 178.11. Is that number greater than 180? No, it's not. That means there are some degrees, albeit a little, there are some degrees left over for that third angle. So if I said 180 minus 178.11, I get that this last angle is tiny, but it's 1.89 degrees. Now we know that two triangles exist, so now you have to find the missing sides for both angles, for both triangles. I have A and B. No, I don't. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I have C in both triangles. I have C here in this triangle is 34. That means I have to find C in this triangle using my law of sines and the angles that I have. I have to find A in both triangles using each bit of information, and I have to find B. So you'd have to do the law of sines 5 more times to find the other sides. But to find if two triangles exist, you use the given and assume that it's in both triangles. Then you find that second angle, whatever you're trying to find, which we did here in C. And then I went ahead and solved for the rest of the triangle, found the third angle. But to see if there is a second triangle that exists, you use the supplement from the second angle. Take that angle, subtract it from 180. If you get a number that when you add it to the first one is less than 180, then you know, oh, there is a second triangle, and that's how you work it from there. If you guys have questions on how to find use the law of sines to find the sides, we can go over that a little more tomorrow or Friday. Again, if there is a second triangle, it's going to occur when we have two sides and a given angle. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to just automatically assume I have two triangles. All right, the angle that they gave me was angle A. So I'm going to say that this angle would occur in both triangles. So 116 degrees, 116 degrees. So they gave me something about angle A and side A, and they gave me information about side B. So that means I'm going to try and find angle B. So I have the sine of 116 over 128 equals the sine of B over 206. So again, cross multiply. 128 times the sine of B equals 206 times the sine of 116. Divide both sides by 128. And I get that the sine of B is 1.8256. Now I know that that's not the angle measure, that's just the sine of the angle. So my calculator, I hit second sine, and I'm going to put in 1.8256. And when I do that in my calculator, I get the error message. That means there's no triangle, all right? So if you work your problem out and you get an error message in your calculator, that just means there's not a second triangle. There's no triangle at all. It does not exist. There's no second triangle when the two that you find add up to be more than 180. And if the two that you find add up to be less than 180 in both triangles, then you're going to have two separate triangles. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. Again, we'll go over it a little more, but the ambiguous case is something that's sometimes difficult to wrap our heads around.